stuff. It's showtime, baby. And when it boils down, that's what being a leader is all about. Thanks for having my back, Chuchi. You're the one.
Hello everybody, I'm Coco Cosmos, and in this video, I talk about how Galleria Garibaldi kept the Cheetah Girls together as a group, and how she was clearly unappreciated. So the Cheetah Girls trilogy has the same formula as the High School Musical trilogy. There's this big goal to achieve, then someone starts acting out of character, then someone has to leave the friend group, then they all reconvene by the end for a big number about friendship. Am I right or am I right? But here's the thing, in High School Musical, Troy didn't keep everybody together. He wasn't as necessary as the main character should have been, except for 3 when he started fighting himself again. The group being successful did not hinge on Troy's actions. They would have been sad because he's their best friend slash boyfriend, but I think they would have healed eventually. Troy's success did not mean everyone's success, even though in the first one they tried to make it that way, because high school cliques and whatnot. Troy was the main protagonist because he was one half of the main relationship, the endgame relationship that we've been rooting for through all the movies. They could have easily made the movies with Chad and Troy's spot, and it wouldn't change much, as seen in HSM 2 with the I Don't Dance sequence. On the other hand, with Galleria, she's doing a good chunk of the heavy lifting. I'm not saying she could do it all by herself, it is a group effort. I'm just saying, with Galleria removed, there's a huge difference. And it's super glaring in one world. Let me show you what I mean. So in the first movie, it's Galleria versus the world, but it's more of her own making. It's established that everyone has their position, and she's the leader. In her introduction, the group has fumbled a performance, and the others are feeling down and embarrassed about it. But she does what leaders do. Gives them a pep talk focused on their strengths. She doesn't give in to too many distractions like boys. She has her goals and she keeps them. They may change short term, but they all add up to the big picture. Her group making it big. The current goal is to win the school's talent show because she knows her girls are talented enough to do that and more. She writes the songs, schedules the rehearsals, and even keeps their grades in line because they are no slackers. She keeps them on the straight and narrow, you know? And of course, they get into the talent show after their audition because of all their efforts. Side note, Cinderella is my favorite Cheetah Girl song. The choreo is so good, and the scene is shot so perfectly. Back to the main point. They get discovered by a famous former student of their school, Jackal Johnson, which we should have known he was evil from his name. He invites them to his office because he thinks they can be big stars, and this gives Galleria an even bigger ego. They become the buzz around the school, and she goes into diva mode. I won't deny that. She thinks she's too good for the school talent show and the school newspaper now that they're projected to be potential megastars. Made fun of the way Dorinda dresses, though she had a point, looks are everything, but she could have said it better. And she even kind of disrespects Drika. She just knows this is their time though, and after her mother begrudgingly agrees, after her warning that this man can't possibly be up to any good considering they are high school freshmen, and this is a huge decision to make. The girls meet with him twice, but on the second meeting, Jackal shows his hand. He wants the group to change their style, their sound, and even the way they perform, which includes lip syncing. Even after them showing what they can do, you know, their natural talent and hard work, the other girls get persuaded into thinking it might not be so bad, but Galleria knows the truth. There's no way they can be sellouts. She protests that they'll walk if they can't do it their way, and the girls say that she's just controlling everything and won't let them get a say. Galleria says fine, then they can take the deal, but she can't be part of it. Most of the conflict comes from Galleria being snobbish and bossy, but that's what bosses do. They boss. They lead and you follow. Could she have been more reasonable about it? I mean, sure, but they were like 15. She was just looking out for them, and if she wasn't there, they would have gone along with it 100%, because why not? Now, they did say they turned it down later after thinking, but honestly, Galleria did all the thinking for them. But they wanted to be rebellious because Galleria said it in a rude way. The group breaks up, which is really just excommunicating Galleria from the group because they come to support Toto when he gets trapped in a hole. They make up and win the talent show though. How, you may ask? Well, Galleria sings her song that she wrote and it brings them back together. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Another side note, I didn't like her love interest anymore after he said her music wasn't real music because it was pop and he walked in while she was singing a ballad. Just because it's pop doesn't mean it doesn't have any meaning. In the sequel, it's still Galleria versus the world, but in the reverse. Because in the previous film, it was more focused on how Galleria was more self-centered and big-headed. Now, it's her trying to bring the group together to do what needed to be done, and everyone leaving her hanging, essentially. She's the one that took the initiative, even after hearing that the deadline was missed, and getting them into the festival in the first place so they could be together for the summer. After getting to Spain, Chanel does help with translation, but still, Galleria is writing, composing, trying to plan rehearsals, and even trying to help with choreography. But there's always something or another getting in the way, like boys or fashion. She was incredibly understanding of this at first, but when Marisol seems to be capitalizing all of Chanel's time, it starts to bother her. Chanel is off learning songs in a language her friends don't even speak, but she calls Galleria controlling for being bothered by this. But the kicker here is, when Galleria feels the need to leave because everyone else has their own interests, and she can't fault them for that, now everyone cares. They didn't care when she was constantly telling them to rehearse. They didn't care when they were jetting off. They care because their friend felt so unappreciated that she left. She was literally making a song about nothing coming between them. Chanel is the worst of them all because the last conversation they had before Galleria made the decision to leave was her walking off hand in hand with Marisol after she was politely asked to come learn the song they needed to perform. I mean, they make up anyway because it's a Disney movie, but I would need a little more than I'm sorry. They weren't taking anything seriously, and her best friend put some new girl's feelings over her own. The absurdity of it. Look at how quickly everything came crumbling down after she said she was leaving too. Had a whole song saying they hope it isn't over. The group was splitting up again because Galleria wasn't there. Dorinda thinks her new boyfriend is embarrassed of her. Chanel's mom isn't getting proposed to because Chanel was being a brat, and Aqua was missing some college thing, I can't remember. But when Galleria agreed to stay, only if and when they started to take the festival seriously, everything started looking up. She even included Marisol to show that there's no bad blood. She said it was cool if Chanel performed with Marisol, even if that meant they couldn't perform as a group because of the language barrier. She was doing everything for them, and they were unappreciative until it was almost too late. Ungrateful. I still love Amiga's Cheetahs though. This might be my favorite choreo out of the series. Honestly, this movie is the best out of the trilogy. Soundtrack slapped, choreo slapped, location was gorgeous, plot was really good. Just chef's kiss. Moving on to the threequel, not getting into why Raven didn't come back for the role. Galleria is completely absent because she decided to go to college. And look what happened. The entire group dynamic feels off. It's even admitted after the opening number. They let men instigate conflict between them. And honestly, the Cheetah Girls' discography was lacking without Galleria's pen. Just saying. Dorinda was sulky the entire time because she gave up on love because her boyfriend may or may not have broken up with her. I don't know. It's unclear because he keeps calling her and she ignores it, but she finally gets over it and tells him she misses him. But she spends the whole movie being anti-love around her friends, but helps the Bollywood star get his girl. And since Galleria and Dorinda had love interests in the other movies, it's Chanel and Aqua's turn. And Dorinda keeps harping on a no boys rule she made up. She's feeling like the third wheel the whole movie. Then in comes the actual conflict. The movie that they're supposed to be in can only feature one lead out of the three of them. Well, Chanel's dating the director, Aqua's dating her tech support guy who's some type of Indian royalty, who's lending out his space to shoot the movie under the condition that Aqua can be the lead. And Dorinda is helping out the Bollywood star, so he agrees to put in a good word for her since he's already casted. The group agrees that it's all or nothing, the usual. But then the men start talking, saying that clearly the other two aren't taking the vow to not audition seriously. So all of them audition because they feel betrayed by the others, and instead of a 1v3, it's a free-for-all. Chanel gets a part and the other two are salty, even though they said she would get it because the dude liked her before they were mad at each other. Honestly, I was rooting for Chanel too because I liked her the most out of the trio. And Aqua shouldn't have even been in the conversation because she's never expressed any interest in acting and is already the least visible member of the group. She's a behind-the-scenes type. Even her boyfriend had to say that she can act well, because Chanel can clearly sing and Dorinda can clearly dance. I'm getting off topic. So during all this, Chanel was meant to step into the leader role. It was just assumed because she was now making the phone calls and giving the pep talks and trying to convince the girls that the trip to India was a good idea. But the thing is, it doesn't translate well enough for me. It just doesn't hit the same. Especially since she got upset in the first two movies when Galleria did these things, and at the first sign of adversity, turned against her team. It was also kind of out of place because Chanel in the first movie was too afraid to tell Galleria that her diva attitude was ruining the look of the group and causing separation in the group itself. And then in the second movie, jumps to calling Galleria controlling for asking for a rehearsal time. In this movie, I'm shocked that she didn't call Dorinda controlling for trying to make them not date, because she's running from her own relationship problems. I'm not saying the rest of the girls are disposable, but they need a clear leader. And it makes sense that we never saw the Cheetah Girls after this movie. One positive thing I will say about this movie is that the ending number was beautiful. Incredibly colorful and choreographed very well. One World was the best song out of the movie. But what do y'all think? Did I oversell it? Who is your favorite Cheetah Girl? Let me know in the comments below. Coco Cosmos out.